welcome to Intro Psychology Unit 14. In this unit, we're going to be talking about all things applied psychology. Well, not exactly all things, and that's because psychology can be applied to nearly everything outside of the research lab and the clinical office. For instance, as you can see here, we're going to be discussing how psychology is applied in the military, in business, in education, in sports, and more. So we're going to start off with a really short callback to our last unit on health psychology and talk about environmental psychology. So environmental psychology is really the study of how we interact with nature and with environmental thoughts, attitudes, and causes. And there's lots of different sub-avenues of environmental psychology. Some areas of environmental psychology overlap with behavioral psychology, learning to guide our behavior by our reinforcements, our rewards, our punishments. And so this may be incentive programs to get people to turn off the taps or turn off the lights or to recycle. Or it could be using modeling or getting celebrity endorsements to get people to consider about ethical purchases and using renewable resources. So a lot of environmental psychologists, particularly in Canada, do studies around universities which involve putting up reminders in public washrooms to turn off the tap or turn off the lights, or how little adjustments can be made about how much we consume based on the packaging and based on the access to recycling bins on campus or compost bins. So some of it's about changing our behavior and how we act environmentally friendly. But there's also all kinds of attitudes about environmentalism. What do we know about environmentalism? How do we think about environmentalism? And examining and mapping our attitudes about environmentalism. And then there's a whole other type of environmental psychology, which isn't about how pro-environmental we're being, but it's more about the benefits of the environment on our health. And this is often called eco-psychology. This is the idea that if you were to go for an hour jog in an urban setting versus an hour jog in a rural nature setting, it's going to do something different to you psychologically. We actually find that if you are going for a walk or a jog on a busy urban street around skyscrapers, where there's lots of traffic and lots of noise pollution, then that may actually increase your level of arousal and stress when you return. Versus if you go for a nice walk by a lake or by a river or in a little park, then what happens is your stress level rapidly decreases. We tend to be more calm when we're in nature. Now, it doesn't matter what type of nature. Well, yes, there is a few researchers in the area of neuroscience that have found that nature, particularly around bodies of water, doesn't matter if it's salt water or fresh water, but bodies of water seem to calm us down. This is why real estate and civilization tends to be centered around water access. This is why we enjoy lots of water sports or beach time activities, that somehow being where there is a blue ocean or river or lake near us can really calm us down and make us feel much more beneficial. In fact, people who were rating the quality of artwork, whether it had a water view or not, they would rate the water views as much more artistic, even though they didn't know that was what the study was looking at. They thought they were judging different types of art styles or different types of art forms, but there was a main effect whether there was water in the picture or not. So we are a biological species. We are in tune with our ecosystem. It's also why we tend to get more fatigued and more tired and hungry as the seasons change towards winter solstice. And it's also why we tend to get a little more hyper and optimistic around the vernal equinox as we begin to get more sunlight as compared to darkness. And that's because we are influenced by nature, and we also want to study how we can influence nature. And that's the basics of environmental psychology.